Today we're going to be transforming this boring old ocean monument into a giant futuristic underwater power plant. You guys seem to like my take on villages, so I decided I wanted to do my favorite Minecraft structure, which just happens to be the ocean monument. Anyway, no time to waste. Let's dive on in. Okay, if we are going to do an ocean monument, we have first got to come up with a good block palette. Now, a normal ocean monument has some sea lanterns and some prismarine and some dark prismarine, and that's pretty much all that it's got. So there's your base palette, and that's good, but we need more. So we can use the color picker tool. This is Atrium, by the way. I got a lot of comments on my first video asking about the different mods that I use, so I'm going to try to explain them while I'm using them in this video. Or we can use a gradient picker, and we can put that input and this output, and it's automatically going to make a gradient for us. So there's all the blocks that fall perfectly in between the two. Obviously, I'm not going to use cyan, glazed terracotta, or deep slate emerald ore in this build, but these copper bulbs, maybe. I'm going to use other copper for sure. Warped wood and the stems here. Probably going to use those too. So that's kind of what I'm thinking here. A little bit of this. Maybe we'll use the bulbs. I'm really not sure. I'm probably not going to use the stem. I'm going to use the hyphae. And also throw in some more of the oxidized copper blocks. Ooh, the grades. Oh man. Oh man. This is going to be good. I like this a lot. Yeah. Now, something that's a little bit more sea lantern like, and we'll add a little splash of color. I guess not really color, but if we throw in some quartz here, kind of as like an accent. Yeah, you see what I'm saying here? This is gonna look sweet. After I had a good color palette in place, I knew I wanted to start building, but I didn't really have any idea what I wanted the actual build to look like. So I built the only thing that I knew I was going to have for sure, and that was the pillars on the bottom of the monument. I'm a cook. Well, that looks pretty cool. That's not a bad start. So for the pillars themselves, I decided to go with kind of a copper frame around the actual prismarine and sea lantern core in the middle of it. I thought it looked cool, kind of goes with the overall aesthetic. And having a big line of sea lanterns like that just looks cool and futuristic. Now I just need to figure out how to get a very nice arch shape coming off of this. Arches in Minecraft are definitely one of the things that I struggle with building and like actually having look good and smooth. But I think that this one turned out pretty good. It just took me a long time to get it there. You have to bear with me here, but I see the vision. I'm gonna fill it out, and then we'll see if this actually works or not. Arches are definitely not my strong suit, but you can only get better by trying. I think I need to make the pillars a little bit taller, but this works for me. I finished out the arch by keeping that kind of copper frame design, and I used dark prismarine and warped wood to fill in the gap between the frame of the top and the bottom arch, just to kind of add a little bit of depth and shadow with the darker color. Okay, I think we're definitely getting somewhere with this now. I like the way that the arch turned out, and I think I'm just gonna put a bunch of these down because this is you know, the pillars that are on the normal ocean monuments, and then I'm gonna kind of have to do a little bit of thinking on how I want the rest of it to look. So I filled in the underside of the arches using that same darker palette. Then I added a little light underneath the arch. And then it was time to hit the drawing board to come up with an actual concrete design for this build. All right, so here we have the base thing, the pillars, everything, what we just built. And I'm thinking I'm gonna do some stairs because in the actual ocean monument, there's not any stairs. It's just, you have these things and you just kind of swim up to it. We're not about that. This thing was allegedly a monument at one point, which means somebody had to build it, which means it was used for something, which pretty much means that there were people walking. Because people walk. That's what people do. They walk and people build things. So this is a people built thing and people walk. So what if we kind of stack it up like so? Stack it up. Yeah, so it's got 2 layers. It clearly has 2 layers here. We'll give it this first layer. First layer. And then we'll go in just a little bit. Give it another layer. Give it another layer. And then I think we dome it off. And then this has a little fuse going over the top. Maybe we can connect these here. A little bridge thing. Just came up with that on the fly. And then we have our grand entrance of sorts here. Hear me out. Little connectors that go down just for looks. And then up here we have another kind of a layer. And dome it off a little bit and give it a little boop boop. Chat, do we see the vision here? Do we see the vision? I see the vision. Do we all see the vision here? I think we can work with this. I think this is a solid blueprint and we can work with it. This mod here that I'm using to copy and paste stuff, move stuff around, Atrium. Also, this is also Atrium. Atrium is one of the best mods for building. So now we have the full foundation outlined for one side of the monument. For the first level here, I decided to stick with the main block palette of the prismarine and copper. I also thought it'd look good if I added in these white window frames and quartz columns to kind of add a little bit of color in there. And then I framed the whole level with the quartz blocks, and I think it turned out pretty good, pretty spiffy. Okay, so that is what I've come up with for this front section. I think it works. I think it looks pretty good. I just got to figure out how to translate that to this side here. Which I did. And then I decided it was time to start working on the main staircase. Okay, so as shown here in this informational diagram, the plan, I think, going forward is for this third layer here, I'm thinking here we're gonna do we're gonna go a little bit smaller than right here. So this one was kind of tall, not really that tall, but we're gonna go a little bit smaller here, and we're gonna do some kind of a dome over here. I ended up keeping this level pretty basic. I just kept that darker prismarine color palette and threw in some lines of sea lanterns in there to make it look somewhat interesting. I think that is actually looking really good. I'm liking this. It's time for the dome. So I'm just gonna basically, from here all the way back is gonna be a big glass dome. But first I added in these little arches to frame out the second level better and also add a little bit of needed depth to it. I don't know, I think it's coming along pretty good. I think it looks good. Who knows what you think, but I gotta find some way to cap off these end pieces. And to do that, I came up with this neat little upside down-ish arch Y-shaped thing. Not really sure what I was cooking, but I kind of like it. I mean, that's not the coolest thing that I could have possibly done, but I think it works. I don't think it looks bad. It's an interesting little shape there. There you go. There is that side. I guess I should just copy the whole thing over and then I can work on the back. Actually, I lied. We need to add some details down here before we can do the old swap and flop. Okay, guys. So you know how ocean monuments are, typically underwater? Well, I think it'd be kind of cool if for these little lighting fixtures here, I did like chains going up and then put little lanterns on top of it so it looks like the lanterns are floating. Huh? What do we think? I don't know. I think it's cool. I think I'm gonna do it. After all of that, it was finally time for me to copy and paste it on the other side. So that is exactly what I did. Okay. All right. Yeah. Yup, I think we got something here. Now we just got to do this central atrium of sorts here and then we'll be done. But as I took a step back and looked at it, I realized that I didn't really like the white arch things on the end because it felt like a lot of white for an ocean monument, which is made of prismarine and not quartz. So I replaced them with prismarine. At this point, it was time for me to go back to the drawing board to come up with a good jumping off point for the rest of the build. So for the next few minutes, I tried to come up with a good design for the central atrium of the monument, and I ended up coming up with this. This is my only reference for, for what we're doing going forward. So we're gonna take this, and we're gonna hit the ground running. We're just gonna start building. And ooh doggy, start building is exactly what I did. I started immediately getting to work on the giant arch to go over top of the staircase and welcome you into this place. For the front of this place, I pretty much did the same design that I did for that first layer with the quartz pillars and kind of framing the copper that kind of frames the prism. This front is layered. It's got layers to it. For the roof of this section, I used kind of a more traditional styled roof to juxtapose the crazy domes and stuff that's all over the rest of this place. For this section up here, I thought it'd be cool if I built something that at least slightly resembled an eye. Little Guardian reference there, because they've got one eye. You know what I'm saying. After adding some finishing details to these columns, the front entrance was finally done, and it was time for me to start building the roof.
You know, now that I'm looking at it, it kind of looks like he's got a little angry face. The arch right here is his mouth, and that's his eye, and he's like, "Arrgh!" Pretty menacing.
Anyway, after that, it was time for me to start building the dome on the top of the roof. The second roof, if you will.
We are definitely cooking. Chat, we are cooking in the kitchen.
And this is the first time that I've ever actually built one of these domed roof things. And I'm honestly really impressed with how it turned out.
I like how that turned out, actually. That came together pretty nice. So now I'm just going to go through and add the little arch things.
The hardest part about putting these things in was definitely just finding the right gradual sloped shape, because I didn't want it to be too arched and I didn't want it to be too flat either. I think I settled on a good intermediate slopage shape.
Okay, I think that actually looks... It's actually kind of a unique shape.
Then I went through and added some sea lanterns hanging off the arch.
Here too. I like the way that looks. That definitely works for me.
After detailing the arches a little bit more, it was time for me to fill in the back of the build. And for this, I basically kept the same copper frame filled with prismarine thing that I've been doing for this whole thing. I also used some lightning rods to kind of simulate pipes and bars and cool stuff like that. Somewhere along the line, I thought it'd be a good idea if I added 4 little Taj Mahal-esque towers on each corner of the main monument build. So that's what I'm building right now. Just some little companion towers to make the main build look cool. And there it is with the other towers around it. And it certainly looks cool. Anyway, the next step was to build the floors for the inside of the monument. And the first step to doing that was extending these arches to give it a symmetrical look all across the bottom. Then I filled the whole thing in with prismarine.
So for the floors over here, between these rows of copper blocks I put in, I think I'm going to put these grates down. So you kind of get that open ocean feeling, and you can imagine the water keeping this place flooded. So I'm going to do that in between all of these.
And there's your finished floor. At this moment, you're probably wondering, oh, Hetty, what are you going to do with the inside of that ginormous building? Well, I'll tell you. I've been thinking, and I think that this time we need to do a little bit of environmental storytelling. While I was building this, I came up with a cool idea. When the ocean monument came out, there's an ocean monument. There was no conduit or heart of the sea. So, wouldn't it be cool if we incorporated the conduit into the ocean monument? And I know that kind of defeats the gameplay purpose of it being a challenge and you going and killing the Elder Guardians or whatever. But that's not the point. The point is, I want this build to be cool. What if we make this ocean monument like a power plant of sorts, and it's all running off of the conduit? So in the middle, you have your conduit, and they kind of look like this. And then around the conduit, we have like pillars or something that like harnesses the energy of the conduit somehow. And it's like energy coming off of the conduit and flooding into this, and it's powering the entire ocean. And that's also kind of one of my thought processes behind building the towers around the monument, was because, like, what if there's something in these towers that radiates the energy of the conduit coming from the inside? This is new headcanon. Wouldn't it be cool if the reason that ocean monuments were built was to act as some sort of power plant feeding off of the conduit? And that would kind of explain why the Guardians are able to shoot laser beams out of their freaking foreheads. Because what if they are robots? Guardian robots guarding the power plant, running off of the power of the ancient conduit. Conduit. I don't know. It makes sense to me. That's what we're going with. You can either go with it or not. Balls in your court, but that's what we're doing. So I'm going to try to build something like this here. I wanted to really make sure that the designs of these energy pylon things looked sharp. Like you could see electricity arcing between the points and stuff. I wanted it to look like sci-fi almost. And I really think I did a good job at capturing that look. And after a few added details here and there, the finished room looked like this. Okay guys, we are now getting really close to being done. There's just a few more things that we have to do. Notably, I need to find a place to put the little treasure rooms and the sponge rooms. So I'm probably just going to do like vaults. I'm thinking on one of the sides, and then on the other side it'll be pretty much another vault, but one will have gold and other stuff that's traditionally valuable, and the other side's gonna have sponges and stuff. So I came up with a decent design for the vaults and filled them with goodies. Now that the build was totally done, it was time to see what it looked like underwater. Yeah. Not much. And it was clear that there was a lot of waterlogging that I needed to do, because all of the stairs and the copper blocks that I used and the chains and everything all of them needed to be waterlogged. So that was cool. But after a solid hour of waterlogging, I finally give you this.